Get ready for the countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
It's still real to me, damn it.
Live from my parents' basement. Welcome everybody to this week's edition of the Still Real to Us show for June 14th, 2012, episode number 122. That's a lot of weeks of doing this wrestling podcast, but it's all been straight through 122 weeks, 122 episodes. This is not the 1000th episode, by no means, but 122 straight. That's pretty badass. I am Jeff Peck. Once again, we are back off of our special show little schedule we had the last couple of weeks. For everybody that tuned in and downloaded our top 5 summer wrestling feuds and Eric Arjulo's return on last week's show, thank you. More importantly, joining me this week, as always, Redneck Revolution Rise Uppa. It is the one and only Captain Obvious. Captain, how are we, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. Refocused, refreshed, re-energized. Any other word you want to think of, I am there. But tell me, when you say that you're in your parents' basement, does that not kind of sound like a little nerdy? You got to admit that when you put that in the preface.
Yeah. I guess maybe I should change that around, but I don't like lying to the listeners. And
just do like what every other like nerdy guy does when he meets a girl. Oh no, it's my house. My parents live with me.
Oh yeah, they're my roommates.
Yeah, exactly.
They're my roommates. Duh, Captain. Jeez. Anyway. Welcome everybody to the show, and Captain, we come back to 2 weeks vacation, which by the way, the first vacation of the year. Let me just ask you, man, how was it?
It was good. I had gave me some time to actually re-energize myself when it comes to VCW. Got all the voiceover works done. Hopefully by the end of the week I'll have everything up and posted for that. So doing really good. Working my tail off between the two jobs. It's, trying to make a living in America. It's kind of hard nowadays.
Yeah, that is very true, man. Tell me about it. So yeah, the vacation, our first of the year, a little bit of re-energize, like Captain said. We had done a lot of coverage of WrestleMania and all that stuff, so it was nice to take some time off. Hope you guys enjoy the shows, more importantly. But a lot has happened, Captain. In this episode of the show, if I told you that we would cover 2 major suspensions, cover the Sunday pay-per-view, WWE pay-per-view No Way Out, have Eric Darise sing, and then, hold on a second, folks, because this is happening. First time history here in the Still Real to Us show. People always wondered who would be the first interview. Well, in a technical way, the very first interview, sit down, hold your hats. If you haven't heard it yet, WWE Champion CM Punk will be on the show, kind of, as we replay the CM Punk interview from Monday, June 11th, on 97.9 ESPN Radio, The Bauer Show, where you could hear yours truly from time to time in Hartford, Connecticut. And we had the opportunity to interview CM Punk the day of Monday Night Raw, the Super Show, and we will be replaying that for anybody who hasn't heard it or anybody who would like to hear it again on today's show. So a little bit of a cool thing that not only does Darcy serenade you guys, but CM Punk opens up in an interview that is, as Captain and I were talking about in the beginning of the show, can only be described as Bauer-wish. Am I right?
Yeah, I would definitely go with Bauer-wish. And very revealing. And when you say open up, he literally opens up
Oh yeah.
Some things you don't want to know about him, but yeah, he's very relaxed and one of the best interviews I've heard of CM Punk in a long, long time.
So we'll get to that later, and to throw a little teaser out there, Punk tells a great interview, or to create an interview, he tells a great story about Vince McMahon, and reveals something about himself that not many of us would ever think CM Punk would say. But that'll wrap up the show. But Captain, let's get right into it. Of course, the news breaks. I think you and I did the show so it was 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago we recorded it, and it was like on a Tuesday. That Wednesday or it was that weekend maybe. Who knows? Anyway, I think it was that weekend, and news broke that Chris Jericho was being suspended for 30 days for an incident with the Brazilian flag as part of the Raw live event South American tour. Chris Jericho was in the ring with CM Punk, the main event of the live event, and a flag was thrown in the ring. He kicked it, spit on it, I think, and did some things to it that a normal heel does. And come to find out, police wanted to arrest him because it's a felony, I believe, in Brazil. John Laurinaitis came down to the ring and made him apologize. From what I read, it was out of character. John Laurinaitis, not actually the character Johnny People Power. And it was very real. And Chris Jericho was suspended that night. He was sent home from the tour, and a whole bunch of the internet were left thinking to themselves if this was a work or a shoot. I think, Captain, if you and I did the show 2 weeks ago and covered it, you and I would have been on that boat that it was a complete work. That this was a way for WWE to have him go on a little vacation, do his Fozzy dates, and come back for a little bit, then leave again, which has been the rumor mill in the wrestling websites since Jericho came back. But it looks like here we are 2-3 weeks later of his suspension, and I think he's down to like 15, 14, 13 days, something like that. So he's halfway through his suspension. And I think it's safe to say that this was a real thing. This was a shoot. This was WWE reacting to something that they believed could have been something very political. I bet you could tie this into WWE's current hand in the political world, with Linda McMahon running for Senate and it being a very big deal in Brazil that you cannot disrespect the flag. I know a lot of wrestlers and a lot of wrestling fans looked at it as just a heel doing his job, and Chris Jericho never did that to offend anybody in Brazil. I think there's no question about that at all. He did nothing to offend anybody. It was just him playing his character and playing it so well. But nonetheless, Jericho suspended for this incident, Captain, 30 days. Tell me what you thought when you first heard the news, and here we are 2-3 weeks later since it broke, 2.5 weeks almost here. Do you think now it's a work or a shoot? Give me some of your thoughts here on this whole Chris Jericho Brazilian flag incident.
Well, the one thing I've come to learn really in the last 2 years about wrestling is in every aspect of a shoot, there's a work, and in every term of a work, there's a little bit of a shoot in it as well. I think, it's just one of those things where you don't know the rules of a foreign country. I mean, anybody who's traveled outside of the U.S., you kind of come across those things where you're like, you don't know where a line is. If he was when Shawn Michaels went to Canada and did the whole thing with the Canadian flag, all those things, it's been a part of wrestling heeldom for years and years and years to gain that cheap heat by disrespecting, the country, the city, the state, wherever you're at. So Jericho was just doing, what Jericho does, what a heel does, and that's getting the fans mad at him. And what I think, turned into a very real situation with the laws in Brazil, in a way also gave a chance for WWE to go ahead and kind of write him out of the storylines for a while too. So I think it's a little bit of both, and I felt that way when it happened, and I still feel that way now. That I think, they did the right thing in suspending him, but at the same time, they were looking, he was looking to take some time off to do some Fozzy shows anyway, so it just kind of worked into the schedule as much of a political catastrophe as it could have been.
Yeah, it clearly, to me, as an outsider looking in, it is one that I would definitely chalk up as being more of a PR move, a political safe house, even, for the WWE and Chris Jericho. Imagine if WWE did not suspend him and this story got out to the major news websites. It would take major news outlets. It would only take one person in a political arena to go, Miss McMahon, or Mrs. McMahon, excuse me, why didn't you suspend one of your employees, or your husband didn't suspend one of his employees when he clearly committed a crime in the country of Brazil?